Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So, the MITER Incarnon. This thing is available on the same week as the torid Incarnon, and it really isn't used that much. So today I'll be showing how good it actually is, and basically explaining why it isn't used, and maybe some buffs could be nice in the future. So let's get right into it. But before we do, make sure to sub to this channel, do daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, news videos, discussion videos, all that kind of stuff. Your right place for Warframe content. I appreciate all the support on the recent videos and streams. Also, yeah, we did do a lot of discussion of this video on the live stream. So if you haven't stopped at the live stream yet, come on, stop by. Okay, so the MITER Incarnon. This thing is a Sawblade launcher, and the Incarnon form becomes a bouncing, homing Sawblade launcher. That stuff sounds pretty good. It's got the stats to back it up too. We got lots of crit chance, lots of status chance, lots of base damage, lots of really good stuff, but it all falls apart when you get to the clunky nature of this weapon. Yes, it can do quite a bit of damage, but the annoyances of the aspects of this projectile flight speed of saw blades, non-full auto nature of this thing being kind of like a bow a little bit, and the fact that the weapon has a mind of its own. Once you enter Incarnon form, that homing just goes where it feels like sometimes. Those things do stack up, so... But it has even more going for it. A special augment mod for the MITER called Neutralizing Justice will give you guaranteed destruction of nullifier orbs, which can be pretty good in a lot of situations too, since Corrupted have nullifiers, as do the Corpus. Okay, so let's go over what builds I'd recommend to you today and how they actually work, and how you can buff this thing up if you do want to use it as your anti-Acolyte Slayer, because it's very, very good for Acolytes. In the footage right now, I'm going to show you a non-buffed, no Riven kill on this Acolyte, and it goes pretty smooth. I mean, if I would have hit it a little bit better of a shot, it would have been a one-shot, but yeah, no Riven, no buffs, easy two-shot on that Acolyte. I definitely did miss that first shot, so a little bit of my bad on that one. Okay, so if you want to replicate that and also know what the MITER does, here we are in the sim. Now, the MITER Incarnon, this is a normal MITER, there is no Kuva MITER. Good job listening to the video. It is going to be just a Sawblade launcher generically. So, first big issue here. This thing is kind of a bow in nature. You can charge the shot up to make it do a lot more damage, or you can just tap fire it. We have a setting in Warframe nowadays that makes semi-auto weapons full auto, but it doesn't work on bows. And this is kind of like a bow a little bit, so it is not full auto, unfortunately, which makes it pretty annoying in practice. It also requires headshots, just like a lot of the other Incarnons, but not the torid. It requires headshots. If you go for body shots, you will not build Incarnon ammo. So the charge shot can do a lot of damage. The tap shot does not do as much damage. Here we are at the Corrosive Blast build. I call it Corrosive Blast, even though it had Corrosive Cold on the primary shot, because the Incarnon form has built-in heat, making the Corrosive Cold build into a Corrosive Blast build. So if we fire off the MITER Incarnon, now that we've charged it up, it will bounce between enemies and has some pretty good stats. Lots of procs being dropped on them, lots of crits technically. I mean, it is also a full auto. Now, another thing you might notice here, as far as the issues, this thing has not the most Incarnon ammo. We've got 20 Incarnon ammo from a fully charged up Incarnon magazine. So you're going to be switching back and forth a lot, and charging it is not the most fun in the first place. But it is pretty good with buffs like Zata's Whisper, reapplying your statuses, or actually an extra hit of damage, which will reapply lots of stuff, which can be very helpful. Additionally, the Zata's Whisper Void Bubble will pull the Sawblade back into itself for increased damage at times. It doesn't always do that, but it does sometimes do that. But right there, as you can see, the Sawblade was about to home into another enemy, went back into the bubble to re-hit the enemy it was on. So pretty good stuff in that regard. As I stated, one of the weaknesses of this weapon is the homing of it, in my opinion. If I aim it slightly to the side, like look, it's trying to home in on the enemy, but it goes right behind her instead. So pretty annoying in that regard. You have to be very particular with the aiming too. So not only is the ammo pool bad, but also the homing makes it feel like you don't have control of your own weapon. But that being said, there are lots of fun builds on this thing, and I'm actually going to show it for level 10,000 in this video too. Let's get into the builds. Okay, so I'm on Naros, but there was no buff in there besides Zata's Whisper at the end, but I can show the build in a second. Big thing here is the MITER Incarnon. Now, these Incarnon perks are not the best, unfortunately. The first tier of options being, with a channel ability, you get increased fire rate, but you have to be on a frame with a channel ability, like Gloom or something, so not going to work on most frames. The other option is not good either. It's going to be multi-shot consumed ammo directly from the magazine. It increases base damage by 20. This works on the Incarnon form. This is not what you want, because you only have 20 shots in the first place. This will make it where you have like 4 or 5 shots in your Incarnon ammo. So really, really bad perk, Plentiful Mayhem. Maybe they can rework it someday. For tier 3, at least it's not anything bad. You got projectile flight speed, increase reload speed from empty, or increasing your base ammo capacity. I'd go for projectile speed because this thing has some, projectile flight time to it, but you can also go for reload if you prefer that. And for the final tier, there's some interesting perks here, actually. You've got the one I'm going for, Commodore's Fortune, giving us a ton of crit chance. This thing only has 5% crit chance at base. You really want to use this one. The other ones are going to be hybrid stats with critical parallel, giving extended chance and crit, or this unique one called Sawblade Storm, holding the charge shot for 1 second to increase the AoE. So, unfortunately, if you take that perk, you're down to 5% crit chance, so you don't want to do that. But if you use the anti-nullifier augment with Sawblade Storm, you can destroy an entire group of enemies really, really easy. I'm going to show you that in the footage right here. So we got Sawblade Storm and the Neutralizing Justice perk for the MITER. It's actually going to blow up nullifier bubbles through walls too, so pretty good in that regard. So here's 20 nullifiers. I charge up the shot, and there you go. It's like 10 of them down, and another 10 of them down, and all the nullifiers bubbles are gone. So you could technically use this perk for that type of thing if you prefer. But again, that's going to really, really reduce your damage. So if you're going to do that, maybe play a frame like Harrow or something, I guess. Honestly, if you're playing Harrow, you should go for the crit perk anyway. This is just more of a utility perk on this MITER. And the Incarnon form can also home in on other nullies too. This thing is very anti-nully with that augment. But yeah, as far as the build, no Riven, but I recommend to you guys for taking out Acolytes really easily. I've got this. Now, keep in mind, you can actually change it up a little bit. You don't need to be running Prime Cryo. You could run normal Cryo. You don't need to run Hammer Shot. You could run Aptitude there instead. Aptitude's not going to work on the explosion of the Sawblade, but as you can see right here, most of our damage is actually a direct hit of the Sawblade anyway for the Incarnon form, with 2,500 being the direct hit and 1,600 being the explosion. It's still good with Aptitude, but it's not technically benefiting every aspect of it. So you can go for Hammer Shot to make it benefit everything. But yeah, big thing here is that we're going to have Corrosive and Blast. If you want to go for even more further than Acolyte, you can actually take off the 60-60 and go for a 90 there for even more elemental damage. But I like to have the 60-60 for more status. So yeah, big thing here is that we're going to be doing Corrosive and Blast. So we have good damage for Gordier and Acolytes, and also Blast is good AoE. From some of my other builds I'd recommend to you, they're going to be fully focused on Blast and also using Riven. So yeah, this build's great for no Riven and no buffing needed. You can even change your Serration mod to like Spectral Serration or Amalgam Serration or whatever fits your needs. Okay, so let's move on. And also, my Galvanized Aptitude is very strong on this if you use it, but yeah, not everyone's going to want to use it. Let's move on to a different build here. Let's go for the Blast proc focused MITER build. I'm going to have my Riven on this one too for multi-shot and crit damage. So this one is fully focused on Blast, and as you can see, our crit multiplier does go up quite a bit, but we lose a ton of base damage. So 15.8 multiplier, and 10x on the direct hit. So let's go ahead and show this here. Now this thing has built-in heat, so we can easily get Blast procs on it, and also Blast procs with Zata's Whisper is a pretty decent combo. Again, I would recommend Zata's Whisper on this thing because it has such high base damage and crits. They can really get you a lot of extra value from your Zata's Whisper proc. So let's do it without Zata's Whisper right now. As you can see, homing has a mind of its own. It's just not really looking too hot on these armored Gordiers. We throw in Zata's Whisper, maybe get a kill or two. Their explosions of death will really do some good AoE. Yeah, Zata's Whisper, very powerful on the MITER. And let's actually show up for level 10,000. So I did use this exact build for level 10,000, but I did actually throw in a different Warframe for it too. I actually threw in Mag with this build. So Mag's bubble plus this build are pretty good for level 10,000s. Just like the Void proc we were talking about earlier, the MITER Sawblade will go back into the bubble and re-hit stuff sometimes. So that can be very good for taking out max level enemies with the MITER. Additionally, I've got Nourish active in this video, not Zata's Whisper, so we're getting the best of both worlds pretty much. We're getting our Viral from Nourish, and we're getting our Bubble proc from Mags too. So good stuff there. But at the same time, I would say I still like the Latron Prime more on Mag as far as, best bubble weapons. Pretty fun stuff, though, if you do want to take out these high-level enemies. But again, this is a video about why does nobody use the MITER, and I hope I've been making that pretty clear already. But one of the big things is going to be, it's just the charging, like having to shoot a headshot. Like, honestly, let's start with buffs right now. What would I do to buff the MITER Incarnon in 2025? Well, I would definitely say that the ammo pool needs an increase. If we're going to compare it to the Torid, which I was comparing to the Torid, it has nowhere near the ammo. It has like 20 bullets, the Torid has over 100. So here's a gas proc build too we can show. I would say you could triple the ammo DE and no one's going to really bat an eye at it. It might actually make the MITER more used if you give the ammo pool a little bit of a buff. So that would be a good one. The clunkiness of it, I would say it could be okay getting body shot in Incarnon too, because you have to like manually fire it every time. But the list goes on. So let's go ahead and get these guys' armor out of here with mag. We'll fire a MITER bolt with gas, so you can see the gas proc's pretty good.
Damn it.
I always curse into my videos. And as you can see, gas proc build on unarmored enemies pretty decent. And another nice thing too is once you resummon them, the gas proc should still be active on the field. Oh, it's only active on her. But yeah, technically, still really good. We throw out the MITER, we fire the Sawblade, and there you go. They're all pretty much GG to that bubble. So bubble's good on the MITER. Also, high damage good on the MITER. So there's some things you could look out for. Now, as far as anti-nully, I'll show you guys a couple more builds here before we call it. For the anti-nully one, you do want to rock that that neutralizing justice augment. Each MITER blaze a 9% chance to destroy a nully field, so that's per multi-shot as well. So with a multi-shot Riven, you're getting even more. You're pretty much just guaranteed to break the nully bubble. So you can either manually fire it, or you can go into Incarnon form to have it home in as well. But yeah, if you are going to go for full anti-nully, you might want to try out that other perk too to get you more AoE. So let's get some nullies in here. This will be the non-Incarnon form here. So as you can see, it just fire a MITER blade, it destroys the nully bubble, but I go to Incarnon form, it should take all those nully bubbles in one shot. Because it keeps homing in, and it just keeps going after nully bubbles. I believe it homes on like 3 or 4 enemies after you fire it, so that could be very good for anti-nully. Which could be very nice on lots of frames that have issues with nullifiers. So you can just use your other weapons as your DPS source. This could be your anti-nully right here. Pretty fun stuff. Now, let's talk about at the end of the day, should you get this? Should you max this thing out? Is it even remotely worth doing? And also, the Acuity build is not good because the homing goes in on the center of the character's, the enemy model, so you're not going to really be going for headshots with the Incarnon form, unfortunately. The primary shot can work pretty well, but yeah, as far as, general all-rounder build, just go for something like this, I'd say. Now, at the end of the day, should you even bother getting this Incarnon? I would say no, you don't need to really bother with it, to be honest, because the issue, if it was on a different week, it would be a different issue, because this thing is very, very strong. Truly, it is very strong, but it is on a week that has some of the best Incarnons in the game. So the other option for the primary that week that it's available is the Torid Incarnon. Why you compare it to the Torid Incarnon? Because if you don't pick the Torid Incarnon, and you pick this instead, you have to wait 2 months to get the Torid again, because that's how Incarnon rotations work. That's why it's being compared to the Torid Incarnon so much. I also don't feel like everything should be compared to the Torid Incarnon, but this is a unique example where it definitely should be compared. So I think it's like the week 5 rotation. You have this, the dual Tox, the Torid, and the dual Ichor. So the Torid is going to be number 1. The dual Ichor would probably be like number 3. Dual Toxicist would be number 2. And the Atomos would be number 5, with this one, with the MITER being number 4. That's why it's an issue, is because it is very strong, but it has those clunky restrictions to it, and the Torid doesn't. So that means that it gets put on the back burner for the most part. So, yeah, that's going to be basically it for the video, guys. A very powerful weapon that is held back by the restrictions that are put onto it, and also the fact that it is in comparison and contention with some of the top guns in all of Warframe on that same week. So, let me know how you guys feel about the MITER Incarnon in the comments down below. Any good builds that I missed here? I mean, these are my favorite builds for sure. Blast proc, gas proc, corrosive blast. Straight up corrosive's good too. If I was to use my Riven here, I'd probably consider taking off the blast damage and go corrosive heat instead. But yeah, really good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate the support. See you next time. Bye.